think we're ready to start the meeting. Our guest speaker is on Zoom. And then also we have some new commissioners that will be joining us. So we are up to 8 on total traffic safety commissioners is 8. So for a quorum, we would need 5, which is what we have with Natasha on.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Can we get roll call?
Alan, could you do the roll call, please?
Dan Kaiser,
Present?
Rick Marshall,
Here.
Michael Rossman, Roger Coleman,
He's excused.
Russell Johnson, Hunter Anderson,
Present.
Natasha Lipke,
Present.
Stephen Hargrove
Stephen Hargrove.
is absent.
Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public comments in writing or anything, Brent?
No public comments.
Okay.
Writing, none of that, please.
Okay, on the consent calendar, we have the Traffic Safety Commission meeting minutes from July 14th. Any discussion?
I move approval of the minutes as presented.
We get a second? You want a second, Russ?
I will second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
July 14th meeting minutes are approved. And then next on the agenda, we have a presentation from Keller Engineering regarding the Fernwood at Brucher pedestrian crossing study.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Welcome. Would you please introduce yourselves for the group?
Yeah, I'm Ishmael Medina here with Keller Associates. Am I able to run the slides through here? Or do I have to queue?
You might need to queue for the next slide. And Alan will advance those.
Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to present our findings here for the Fernwood Brucher crossing study. This site is part of 2 active issues log items dated back to 2022 and 2023, where residents have asked for a marked crossing at this intersection. Keller Associates did a preliminary review of the site and found a couple of different issues and constraints that we think need to be addressed before integrating a marked crossing here. So if you go to the next slide. There's a planned Dundee Newburgh bypass route that's shown here adjacent to the site. It's about, a couple hundred feet east of the intersection. There's an ODOT property south of the intersection that's outside of the city limits as well. There's an existing city ordinance that allows golf carts to use Brucher and Fernwood to get to and from the golf course here. And as you can see, the red dashed line here is the current natural pedestrian crossing path. It's a pretty aggressive skew, and it's really not ideal for vulnerable users, elongating their travel path and increasing risk for motorist, non-motorist accidents here. Go to the next slide. Additionally, there's some existing utility infrastructure that would have to be relocated. And even if you were to straighten out the crossing here, we're talking about 44 feet approximately for pedestrians to have to cross at the site. Again, not making it ideal for vulnerable users here. Next slide. So Keller performed always stop control warrants, pedestrian hybrid beacon warrants, and reviewed FHWA's recommendations on marked crosswalks at uncontrolled intersections, which is what we find here at Fernwood Brusher, and developed 3 different options. So option 1 is converting Fernwood and Brusher to an always stop control condition. Option 2 is an economical mid-block crossing solution of Fernwood east of the Brusher intersection. And option 3 is a more robust mid-block crossing solution east of Brusher as well. Next slide. So option 1 is, again, we'd convert the intersection to an always stop control condition by adding stop bars, stop signs, marked crosswalk east of the intersection, proper illumination, and signage as well. This would require us to close out the existing crossing location and integrate a receiving pedestrian ramp on the south side, which if you can see here, it approaches into that ODOT property. So that would likely require acquisition and annexation to be able to accommodate that. All of this would require coordination and cooperation from the Chehalem Parks and Rec District as well. Our engineer's estimate showing this to be about $66,000. And so due to the previously mentioned site constraints, shifting the crossing east to a mid-block crossing location and effectively reducing the crossing distance was considered. So the next couple options are a mid-block crossing location in this relative location. Exact location yet to be determined, but somewhere in this vicinity. Next slide. So option 2 is an economical mid-block crossing solution, again, east of Brusher. This would require boulevard extensions, integrating receiving pedestrian ramps, high visibility markings and signage, as well as proper illumination. We would connect to the existing trail system on the south side. This would also require the elimination of the existing crossing location and rerouting the golf carts to a maintenance access just east of the site. This option would also require coordination with CPRD, and the engineer's estimate for this was about $65,000. The good thing about this one is it doesn't conflict with the planned Dundee-Newburgh bypass, which makes it an ideal, cost-effective, quick-build solution, for the site right here. Next slide. Third option is a more robust solution. It's also mid-block crossing, similar to the previous location. This one would integrate a speed table. We're talking 3 to 4 inches above the roadway, as well as the curb extensions, receiving pedestrian ramps, high visibility pedestrian markings and signage, as well as a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. This one would also connect to the existing trail in the south, eliminate the existing crossing location, and reroute the golf carts just east of this. Engineer's estimate for this is approximately $118,000. However, this crossing would reduce the vertical clearance of the planned overpass by the 3 to 4 inches mentioned, which is a pretty critical component of that project. Next slide. I think that's it. Any questions from the group?
Hi, this is Russell Johnson. The third option, without raising the crosswalk and worrying about the raised grade, do you know what the difference would be? I think you're just basically adding the flashing lights to option 2.
I believe you're right. Yeah, it'd be rectangular rapid flashing beacons. I think, last I checked, those can run you up to $5,000 versus just the signage, which is about 1,000. So I'm thinking, it'd be tough to tell, but for the concrete work to integrate the speed tables, I mean, you're talking $25,000 maybe. So if you go back a slide, what's the cost here?
Okay.
118. I mean, we may come down to, $80,000-$90,000. But there is some cost for those rectangular rapid flashing beacons.
Brent, do we know if the fire department would support, and emergency vehicle, or and the police department would support the raised table?
That would all be coordinated as a project with emergency vehicle access and the
Yeah.
requirements there to work through that.
So I note that it's pretty clear on the agenda that no action is requested of us. My snarky note in the margin was, then why is this here? Would there be a desire for this group, or why wasn't it brought here with the context of providing some input as it goes forward, rather than purely no action? It seems a little
Yeah,
strict.
so this is put together at this stage, once we identify the scale of the project. It's going to end up being a capital improvement project and go into that realm. I'm expecting that an option that's not one of these three, is going to come forward, that's going to bring different scenarios into theirs and an actual project that goes forward. What the presentation is, there's not a requested, we're not requesting input or action by the Traffic Safety Commission on this. You're always free to make recommendations onto something like this or anything else that we can then forward on, and it would go to the city manager and ultimately then make the decision to work with the mayor and to go to the city council if that was path. But yeah, you're always welcome to, on any of the things that we present. And this has been on here for some time and had the attention of the Traffic Safety Commission because it was in the active issues log for some time. And as I voiced before, it was suspected that it was going to be something that would grow. And by having Keller do this report and get this information, now we have the constraints identified and some options to move forward with and take it in that direction. And that's the intent behind that, is we're just providing that information to show what had been done based upon what was from the active issues log and then what the next steps are. But again, there's always the ability for this commission to make some recommendations if you so desire.
So my feedback would be along the lines of, I have a little concern that directing pedestrians and other users to a mid-block location, some percentage of users will continue to cross at the current location, and it won't really accomplish the goal we desire of improving safety for them. And I think perhaps this is me reading too much into it, but it sounded like one of the concerns about the first option was we'd have to acquire property from ODOT. It's like, well, they're a public agency in the transportation business also. I mean, certainly they would need to be compensated for land that transfers from them to us, but it sounded like, again, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but like that was an immovable object and not worth pursuing. I think that one should stay on the table and not be dismissed too readily.
Can I add something?
Go ahead, Russell.
So I think, I mean, for me, to move the traffic, try and move pedestrian traffic away from an intersection is a good idea. And I also saw that it was recommended by Keller that the path, that the existing path be removed. And that would, I think, if that was not a place to walk or for golf carts to travel, then people would move toward the mid-block crossing more likely, because there's no place really to walk on the other side, as long as that path is gone.
Well, the picture that's on page 7 of our report just shows a little barrier right by the street. And it doesn't look like there's any discussion of relocating the trail that points right at the street at that location.
Yeah, it said, yeah, because then in the implications of the golf cart access at the end, 1.8, it says they think they should close that shared path. Which then golf carts would take that midpoint in order to travel over to the golf course. Is there a sidewalk on the other side of Brewster?
So
On the
the
west side?
sidewalk on Brewster
I
is
see the
only on
trees.
on Brewster, the sidewalk is only on the north side.
Oh, okay. Is that north? Okay,
Yeah.
north, south.
Then on the south side, when you get east of Brewster, you have that shared use path that's part of the golf
Okay,
course.
there's not-
There,
there's
it
no
acts as a
purpose.
sidewalk and component through that piece of it, and just to, if I was following the discussion, talking about with the mark or the existing crossing and walkway in that scenario, and Ish, correct me if I'm go astray here. The idea is that as part of that option 1 project, it would close the crosswalk, the existing crosswalk, and put the appropriate signage and things in there. And what's indicated in this is there's a piece of asphalt that connects this roadway pavement with the trail. And that's what we would be seeking to have removed as well, to help create a barrier to prevent
That's correct, yeah.
people using.
And I can provide some additional context. I guess the way we approach the study is not, these are not necessarily concepts. I mean, they're presented in a way that they're concepts, but they're more so presented as potential countermeasure options. And what are the things you would be looking at if you were to pursue either of these? So, I mean, really, either of these options are viable options as far as we're concerned on the engineering side. So option 1's not necessarily off the table. However, here is what you're gonna run into if you were to pursue this route, right? So, utility infrastructure and encroachment into ODOT property, and then FHWA guidance states that, simply installing a marked crosswalk, especially in an uncontrolled condition, is not an effective way to safely cross pedestrians. You would need other countermeasures, whether it's a stop control condition, RFBs. I mean, they go as far as to recommend shifting the crosswalk away from an intersection and doing mid-block crossing installations. Of course, with the appropriate signing, striping, and illumination. But they found those to be, more effective measures than simply installing a marked crosswalk.
Can we put the picture that's on our page 7 back on the screen? So, I'm concerned that the lines of demand are, perhaps among others, isn't there a trail heading due south off of the edge of the picture, right about where the words install new luminaire are? And it continues right next to that and keeps going south. Isn't that one of the significant places pedestrians are going?
That is correct.
So if they're coming from the college or anywhere else north of here, they're gonna have to make this big U-shaped detour to get back to that trail. And I'm concerned that they won't. They'll continue to cross without help, and we've done nothing for them. So that's my concern. I'm fine with this all going forward, and that's what I have to say.
appreciate that. You're probably not the only one that has that concern overall with
I think,
that option.
Brent, you also brought up the fact that this is still early days. This would become a capital project. If there's interest in pursuing this option, there could also be interest in negotiating with ODOT to buy that little piece of corner there to straighten that path out so it lines up. If,
There absolutely could be, and it's definitely not off the table. It's just one of those things. It's just one of an additional constraint to work through. The other thing with this, it's not just that it's ODOT property. One of the things that I've actually asked the community development director for some input and guidance on, that'll come forward whenever this goes to a capital project scenario, is with that being outside the city limits and outside of the urban growth boundary, are we into, even with the sidewalk easement, are we into an annexation or anything to deal with that? And I don't know the answer to that question. I would think that an easement would solve that, but that's why I've posed that to our community development director.
so that's not just city limits, it's the urban growth boundary.
It's the urban growth boundary as well.
Oh.
I didn't think we may not have made that clear in
Welcome to Oregon.
right
Rick.
up there.
Launch the Board of Commissioners, let them blow this up.
Yeah.
The other comment I would make is that
Interesting.
that intersection may need 3 stop signs anyway. There's 225 cars go through there.
At some point, and Ish, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're kind of went through your analysis. You indicated that one of the warrant, well, most of the warrants are not met. The one using the kind of what's going on with the site kind of leads it to being, okay, maybe we can get the 3 all-way stop in there.
That's correct, yeah. Although, you know, it may be beneficial, it doesn't technically meet the FHWA's warrants for stop control conditions, nor does it meet City of Newburgh's stop sign policy as far as I remember. But there is a 5th warrant option that allows us through engineering judgment make that call, whether it's high pedestrian traffic, conflict points or visibility concerns and things like that, where we can justify the installation of that through that warrant. And that's where we're presenting this option.
Any more questions or comments? Okay,
Uh-huh.
thank you
And-
very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Ish.
Next on the agenda is staff reports and general information, starting with police.
Yeah, so I'll let
Counselor Hagan.
Hagan continue, but we did he had provided some information for where the radar trailers were deployed most recently. And so that information, there's a map that's in your packet that indicates that information.
There's one trailer moving around, or this many trailers all there at the same time, or what? I don't know what the map means.
So, yeah, the map it gives the locations over the course of since July, I think you'd given me between July and September, the different locations. And
How many trailers then?
We have 2 currently.
Okay,
And as far as any other staff report from the police side, don't have anything specific other than we just got some our grants renewed for the upcoming year, which allows us to hire officers on overtime to come in and do specialized enforcement for DUIs, distracted driving stuff, speeding enforcement. So that's good news, where we'll be able to have some extra staff on the road for like Super Bowl weekend and New Year's Eve and all the big holiday areas for some specialized traffic enforcement. So as always, I'm here to answer any questions throughout the evening, but that's kind of all I have at the moment.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Officer Hagan.
And then as far as from the engineering side, we've gotten an update from our public outreach from our interim community engagement officer or person, and she actually, in addition to what's in the agenda listed there, they had different items there. She also let me know that this is, with this being October being Pedestrian Safety Month, she has pushed out some website and social media posts as well. So she's continuing to put things out as she comes across them, but is always welcome to receive input from the Traffic Safety Commission if you have specific things to be pushed out in this, on the, either the city website or through social media posts. And then for the on the engineering side, I'll give a couple of, we got the active issues log, and we included with this is a summary that I pulled together to start to try to track how well we're doing with Keller's assistance to knock through these things and continue to update their work plan and things. So there's a little summary there of kind of, we seem to be holding with about 20 that are still involved with needing that traffic counts or a study and that seem to hold as we bring things on and take things off. And those 20 break down into about, we've broken down into about 10 actual work tasks for them to be working on. So they're continuing to kind of work through. I've asked them to give kind of to work on getting us kind of an update as to the number of days type of anticipated time duration, and to work through these to kind of get them until we were to knock off all the ones that we have currently and have them completed, to work through and plan with that. And currently that's all trying to be done through the costs associated with the retainage contract amount that's for civil city engineer services with Keller that's been contracted versus additional costs. Some additional costs are likely to be incurred for getting the traffic counts to support the studies and things where they're needed. So, and then some other things with just kind of some general updates. The city manager and the mayor had worked through to do a closure of East Illinois at North Main. So that has gotten installed and in place, and all things were there. So that's in place now, and that's where it is. It's done as a temporary thing to confirm that it actually achieves what they were intending to have with that. So
Yeah,
Any
on
question?
that, I spoke with a resident that lives on Illinois and Washington at that corner there. And they really have seen the traffic calm down quite a bit, because it used to be what he called the drag strip in front of his house. Now there's no traffic through there on Illinois.
Mhm.
There's a lot of traffic more traffic on Washington as people are turning down there to get over to 219 or 240, I mean. So he has some requests to maybe get some trees trimmed on the commercial property there, which would be able to see, people could see better
Okay.
around there. And I gave him the link to the issues log, as you know, to go ahead and enter that into our log so that we can.
Yeah, to kind of
Follow.
send something in there, and then we can distribute whether
Yeah.
that's a maintenance issue or potentially a code compliance issue or things there
Right.
related to that.
Yeah, he thought that the trees block some of the visibility, might
Yeah.
make it safer.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
there's
it- and
more
the city-
traffic now in Washington than
Okay.
there was before.
That's good to hear in that regard. The city manager is also kind of the one, he's expressed an interest in knowing what's getting some feedback and things so that can be directly sent to him as well.
Yeah. But
Pass it on.
generally, they're very pleased.
Very good. And then within the end of the packet that you have without.
I had one more thing on that.
Absolutely.
So in terms of the monitoring the effects of that, just as an individual driver, my first experience coming in from Highway 240 after that had been installed. So what I did as a workaround was I turned on North Street, and then Washington to continue across Illinois, because that points at where my home is.
Mhm.
Let's just keep an eye on the intersection of Main and North, which is kind of already on our radar with
Mhm.
lowercase letters. Because we were worried about that already, and now we've potentially added more to its issues. So,
Yep. I think that's kind of the idea, like the city manager is waiting to get some feedback on things like
Yeah.
that to see what are the impacts that are
Yeah.
beyond just right at that intersections.
Yeah, we should probably note that those other side streets there are poorly paved and narrow. And
That helps keep the traffic slow.
you hope.
Right, anything more on the Illinois closure at Maine? Any questions or anything else on that? All right. All right, then also within the packet, there's the active issues log, there'll be a number of those that we have in there. If there's any questions on any of those, we could kind of continue to work through. There's a few there that Alan, our GIS analyst, has been helping to collect the speed data on that there's a few that are actually, he's just gotten me information, so we'll be updating the log with that information where they're at. I will say that so far, there haven't been any of the speed data collection ones that we've ran into where we're seeing anything that's truly excessive speeds that are with the 85th percentile being dramatically above the posted speed limits and things. So nothing that's into there, but we'll continue to monitor and watch for those things as those come in. I guess the one you just sent me today, though, I need to double check and look at that one there. I guess, but so far, all the ones that we've gotten are collected, so we continue to run those through. So there'll be ones that, and along with collecting that speed data and then just an initial review that's done typically by myself, when we work through these, when these issues come in, is usually a first glance to see where are the things, is a study needed? Are some data needed? Is it something that's a code compliance or a maintenance issue or whatever that might be, to kind of get those directed and knocked off as quickly as we can to kind of move them forward there. Continue to happen. And then at the end of after the active issues log and the items within that, we do have through the decision of the city engineer and using that authority there, an upgrade to the traffic control devices at Springbrook and Hallworth to put in the flashing stop signs there that PD had made. Basically, they presented the data to support their request, and that moved forward very quickly with the city engineer working with the city manager and the public works director to get those installed. So.
Good. I do have a question on number 2. You have the new task assignments. What kind of priority are those going to have?
Within the task assignments that are under the Keller task order.
Yeah, on the agenda, it's number 2, traffic issues, work plan for Keller assistance. So the next task.
Oh, the next
assignment would
task,
be
yes.
the Engineering.
Yeah, so
studies,
right now, that's what we're working through. They've presented some, basically essentially some scope of work for each of those, and we'll be kind of moving those forward. They were probably going to try to tackle ones that have the low or the low-hanging fruit type of a scenario that we can knock out. Now that we did one of the large ones
Yeah.
with the Fernwood and Brucher, we'll probably try to get some of the smaller ones knocked out. And then the Villa at Hallworth is probably going to become a larger one. So that's probably going to be the lower priority within of the 3 of those.
Yeah, that's a really bad intersection there.
Yeah.
Especially when the high school empties out.
Yeah.
The high school kids, the college kids.
Yeah. It's been noted and we're aware of that. It's just kind of like I said, I think kind of what's from us, that's trying to knock through a few of the smaller ones here and then get that one tackled as well. But that hasn't been decided as yet. That's just kind of my expectation at this stage.
Thank you.
So I really like the new summary of the log, and I would like to encourage, if it's not already, that it in some way be transmitted to the council. Just not as necessarily an agenda item, but just in the interoffice mail or something. My motivation for this is the time that I went and spoke to the council on this commission's behalf. The read I got from some of the counselors was along the lines of they didn't know we existed. So this, I think, makes a nice concise summary of what's going on in our world. It could just be shipped in an interoffice or an email.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing, trying to keep us in their field of vision.
Yeah, so just to be aware, I have presented the city manager with that summary, kind of the summary that's in our that's in the presentation, but then also within the basically that's on the website or the SharePoint site with our file there that has the full summary of kind of the quarter by quarter scenario of what we've got that has been given to the city manager. And I'll make an additional ask to see if he can add that into his updates to the city council and his city manager's report.
Yeah, that's great. Or whatever works in your world is fine.
Yeah, that's the typical way as I understand, but I'll ask him for his
Yeah.
input on how
And
best
I
to do
had
that.
just a couple little questions about the flashing stop sign. I'm a frequent user of that intersection, and I'm very pleased. And there's a statement of fiscal impact, and it says the funds will come from some gobbledygook code numbers of an, apparently is something meaningful to other people
Yes.
reading this report. So my question A, what is that? And question B, would such funding be available if other locations are identified needing similar fairly
Yeah.
low-cost improvements like
Yeah,
this?
that is a Public Works Maintenance Fund account
Okay.
number that is used for doing street signs, signage, striping, those type of things. And it is what is used for any of the things that come out of recommendations from this commission that are in that realm of elements. That's what the funding is that's used for that. It's the account number that comes from.
May I just encourage that if such a memo gets written to us on future occasions, maybe that
Appreciate.
be spelled out.
Yeah, I appreciate that feedback on that.
And then do you have an idea yet of how you'll be monitoring and evaluating the device? How will you know if it helped?
At this stage, we'll probably be relying on PD to make observations. If they are continuing to see things, then we would kind of take that into
This one's
consideration.
essentially all about crash experience, right?
yeah.
So it's pretty straightforward. That's good.
Well, pedestrian safety, right? There's been some pedestrians.
There's pedestrians that have also made some concerns and voiced the
Okay.
concerns, and the request that came through from that was kind of leaning towards the rectangular rapid flashing beacons. This was a step in kind of going in that direction. There's supposed to be, ultimately, there will be a traffic signal there. So it's kind of serves as in an interim step with that ultimately within that piece of it there.
And my one last thing about that intersection, I think at least the southern leg of the intersection, somebody will need to keep a pretty close eye on the trees blocking the solar power for the flashing.
Yeah.
Because at least one time already that I've been through there, it wasn't flashing. And it just seemed to be the tree shade would maybe
could-
explain it.
That can be a factor. There's one of the speed warning signs that indicate the indicator signs that's on Villa Road. One of those was installed with the solar and the tree was nearby. And ultimately there was a lot of tree trimming and things that still wasn't working. It ultimately got hardwire powered. So that does watch for.
Especially when the sun changes its position over the seasons.
And then just a couple other items, and Alan advanced the screen there to help remind me. Nope, you're where you were. It was perfect. So on the TSP update, that's still out there where there's a grant that's been applied for. We're waiting to hear about that. In the meantime, the city manager has been working with the city engineer and Keller to work up some updated typical street sections, cross sections for minor and major collectors. So they've started that process, and they're supposed to be providing some information for an update to council. I think that's going to get incorporated into the city manager report here soon. So
What kind of update is envisioned?
that's being worked through as their cross sections and things, looking something different than the typical. Right now, it's a very set, here's like for a major collector, here's a very set cross section of street width, bike lanes, sidewalk,
So the idea is to
planter
make it
strips and
more
that.
flexible.
to be more flexible, give more opportunities is the idea with that. Yep. And I believe they're also looking at adding some ability to have some additional buffering and things for bicycle lanes and things than just the typical. So more to come on that. And then on the red light camera at Villa 99 that has gone through a process and things, it's still kind of going through some finishing pieces with the new vendor to get things worked through there. And then the court staff is looking at the process and things to see if they need to make any changes. So it's still in the works, still nothing definite as far as a time frame. And then once it's known that there is that time frame, there'll be a city manager's indicated a social media campaign to make certain that that's awareness on that is out there.
Brent, are those cameras mainly for traffic going up and down 99, or does it also include Villa?
It's a mixture, and they got ODOT approval for certain lanes and certain directions, and I don't have the details on that. So it's not an all-inclusive as I understand it.
Okay.
I don't know if Officer Hagan.
That's what okay. I'm sure I'll know when I see it.
The red light camera at Villa and 99, when that goes in, the approval for which lanes and directions. Because I know it was not approved fully for all lanes, all directions.
No, I remember what it was originally.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it'd be similar. if not the same.
My whole neighborhood is gonna be the same.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. And next slide then. And then any commissioner comments?
I have some comments, hopefully brief. I just want to express my appreciation to the commission and the staff and how much I've enjoyed my time here at this, my last meeting. So this is the conclusion of the term for which I was appointed, and it's been nice knowing you. And I really appreciate working with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Rick. So your 3 years is up?
For some reason, I was appointed to a 2-year term. Maybe they knew what a troublemaker I was gonna be.
Okay.
I don't know. Or the mayor didn't like something to be read in my application. I don't know, but 2 years. And
All right. It's been great having you, Rick.
Thank you.
Any comments, Russell? Hunter, Natasha online? Okay, well, like Rick, tonight I think is my last meeting, so I also want to appreciate, give my thanks to staff for all the hard work you're putting in to put up with us and keep us informed. Really appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you all.
Thank you for organizing this commission and really making it a more successful in this last year than
Well,
what
I
I
think,
understand it has been.
I think a lot of credit goes to Brent. I think he's put a lot of work into these packets to really, that's a lot of work for him. I know he shares that with us in advance, and I think a lot of credit goes to Brent for all the work behind the scenes. And Rick's provided a lot of good feedback.
A lot
to
of
help.
ideas came
Yep.
out of it.
Well, thank you all.
Yeah. And as I saw, Keller's future tasks, I see them, they're tied right to the action log, so that's good. So I'm optimistic you'll continue to check those off the list.
We will be continuing to do so.
Hopefully a little faster than they come on, right?
Yeah, that's the goal, yes. Right now, it doesn't necessarily feel that way, but we're getting there.
Yeah, making progress.
Yeah.
Okay, last item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Do I hear a second? All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.